I keep mixing the days up. There's so many days in the week and it's constantly going crazy, but it's excited to be back on a Thursday after an amazing announcement. If you watched the Tuesday show, which I hope you did, you will have noticed that we were again spot on with 2.9% prediction of where the government numbers are going to come out at. And of course, we hit it on the money and really excited about that. So if hopefully you watched that show. Anyway, hi everybody. We're going to go into again the analysis and what you get available. We're using Truflation.com. I'm going to go into some super high level opportunities in terms of where the market's going and why we're super bullish for 2025, and then highlight some of the activity that's taking place at Truth Network and what the Truth Network really means and why we've been focused around building out the Truth Network and separating the two. So I'm Stefan Rust. I'm the founder of Laguna Labs, and we are the builders behind the Truth Network and Truflation.com. Happy Thursday. This show is brought to you by Truflation. I'm going to have a quick sip here, so bear with me. Hydrating. How much do you drink? Do you drink your 8 glasses of water every single day? I drink maybe 3 of these in a day. And I like big bottles. I like big cups. So I don't need to waste time going back and refilling the cup every time. Instead, I've got a bottle. And I add a bit of hydration salt in here so that it actually hydrates even better and more efficiently. Side note, not relevant to why you're here and what we're talking about. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you some of the news. You've heard it already. I shared it up front. But we were on the money. If you listen to the Tuesday show, you will have learned that 2.9% was exactly as predicted. We're accurately forecast the last 6 out of the last 8 CPI results. If you are and you're interested, we do a tear sheet for everybody, and we want you to download this, and anybody that in your network that you think might be interested in this content and Truflation, subscribing to Truflation, you can actually get this and send this on to them. Why? Because ultimately you can see here, Rodrigo's already updated all of this content, and you can see here that we are now 0.006% accuracy deviation from the accuracy. And you can see 2.9, 2.7, 1 miss in October, 2.4, 2.5. So lots of different predictions and always on the score. 3.3, 3.3, 3.0. So yeah, just really good opportunity. I don't know if you can see that. Do I need to zoom in more? Can I zoom in more? Can he zoom in more? And whoops, yes, I got this silly Gemini thing here. Now you should be able to see even better. Here we go. I had to zoom in. There you go. All right, so here you can see at the end 2.9, 2.9 in December. So really excited. And all we do is highlight that, we have been able to accurately predict 5 out of the last 7 months spot on, with the average deviation decreasing from 0.14 in 2023 to 0.06 in 2024. A 57% improvement in forecast accuracy. So there you go. Just a quick insight, obviously a little bit of a self-promotion in there, but just wanted to share that with you. And again, we've been learning, we've been building, and we've been optimizing a lot of the platforms. So this is a super undervalued, underrealized network of data and maintenance of indexes that is available to pretty much anybody as long as you have the Truth token. So please check it out and find out about it. So we've been really busy around building out the Truth Network, and here we go. This is what I was looking for, and I wanted to share this with you, but I'll share it a bit later on. And what is the Truth Network? You're asking yourself, why are we building this? What's the value of this? So we're going to be communicating a lot more around this, and I'll get to that a bit later. But a lot of people are still worried about what's going on in the market, right? And what's happening. But again, if you pay attention to the Truflation and you listen to what we're talking about, you can see right here. Again, just go to Truflation.com, the website, and you can find and get on the blog a detailed inflation update, right? So you get this, and you get this before, right? It was published on the 14th. Remember, the announcement was on the 15th, so you get it as a heads up. And you can see in here what we're saying, what are all the predictions, what are all the elements in there, yada, yada. You got here core inflation comparison, and then PCE and CPI versus Federal Reserve targets. So you get a big insight, right? And you get this for free, even upfront. But if you are a customer, you get this lovely presentation and you get a summarize on it. So you can actually get it in fast view. So here you go. And if you want to find out what we talked about in detail, you would have heard about this on the podcast on Tuesday. So again, every Tuesday and every Thursday, we discuss a range of things. And what we will do is bring on visitors to each of the podcasts each time. So you get a different level of insight and new, a different level of insight and different participants coming in and joining. So that's the exciting. So here you will have seen right here 2.9%. Truflation December forecast is exactly 2.9%. The market forecast was between 2.8 and 3.1. But the market reacted, right? You guys all saw what happened in between and out there. Where is the image? There was a trading view image. We were just looking at trading view, but either way, stocks went up, oil went up, gold went up, everything went up, right? So lots of activity there. And here you get an insight, what is moving, what are people's expectations. And by the way, we talk about 3% here. And that's sort of what we're really seeing, right? I think one of the things that I think the world is beginning to realize is, as we talk about, is 3 is the new 2. So 2% no longer exists. It's now 3%, right? So what does that mean? So we will no longer be living based on this arbitrary number that some central bankers in a cloaky, smoky, dark room come up with and tell us that, 2% is the arbitrary number. No longer is that going to happen. It is going to be 3%. That is the new number. It's realistic. It's more in line with where the world is at. And so we just believe that this is more an accurate number and target to hit. Given the amount of money printing that went out there, given the amount of, just to give you a picture, this is the head of the BIS, right? The Bank of International Settlement, the central bank of central bankers, right? I mean, these are the guys that are deciding 2% should be the inflation rate. I mean, isn't this a picture of what you dream of a central banker? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we have Jerome Powell on the one hand, and then on the other hand, we have, what's his name? Augustine. I can't remember his name. Augustine Castens, head of BIS. What's his name? Head of BIS. Bank of International Settlement, which is really, this central bank. And there was big criticism against what they're doing, right? They've got this huge Augustine Carstens, right? So that's the head of the Bank of International Settlements. That's the central banker of central bankers, right? So he's the central banker of all the central bank. Anyway, I said again and again and again, but ultimately they are proving to be no longer true and no longer relevant in a world where ultimately 3 is the new 2, right? So this is what's going to be happen. This is our forecast for 2025. So we're making a couple of predictions here in 2025. And I think, we have a huge task in front of us. The budget deficit is $2 trillion. Will Doge be able to reduce the budget deficit by $2 trillion? How will they do that? Where will that be coming from? So I think we're going to see some interesting activities kick in there, and we're going to see lots of new executive orders that are coming in. And so, we think that everything is going to be starting off with what Days of Thunder, right? So I don't know. I'm taking this image and highlighting this, right? So it's really the Days of Thunder start on the 20th. Why do we say Days of Thunder, right? I think it's really more around the fact that we are going to be seeing a whole slew of executive orders, budget cuts, and we're going to have 100 days of just chaos, change, rapid change, new leaders coming in, new direction. And it's not as though they've been sitting on the sidelines. They come to their job, they try to find their table, get their computer connected. They've already been preparing for this. They've been at Mar-a-Lago for the last, I don't know, however long, and really been preparing, getting their teams together, getting their statements together, putting in front and drafting up their policies, identifying where to cut specific P&Ls. And there was a really interesting podcast. We'll go into that maybe at the next time because I could find it. But there was a really interesting dissection on BG2. Check out YouTube, BG2, the latest edition with Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley. BG, Bill Gurley, Brad Gerstner. And what they do is they look at where, or Altimeter did a study as to where they could be cutting budget, and they come out at about 1.7 trillion. So they actually do have and have sourced where you can possibly save up to 1.7 trillion. So that's possible. And imagine that kicks off all in one day. So there's going to be a whole slew of turmoil, lots of people trying to find their footing, see what they need to do. And so we actually think that it's going to be Days of Thunder in these first 100 days. I didn't come up with that word, by the way. That was Steve Bannon. I heard him in some podcast talk about it. So that's sort of his term. He coined that. I'm just stealing it, and I love it. Drop the hammer, right? So on the 20th, Trump will come in. On 21, he will drop the hammer. There was that scene, I don't know if you remember, there was a race scene where Tom Cruise is driving around practice ring, and he wants to drop the hammer. The coach says, "No fucking way." And then boom, he hits the pedal and off he goes, right? So it's quite a significant scene. Interesting. Anyway, but yeah, so that's what's going to happen. The other things that's going to happen is, right, so if he drops the hammer, we have 100 days where all of these new changes are going to be implemented and going to go into action really quickly. There are a couple of areas that are really in high demand, and technology obviously is going to be the core focus. And will we see a shift from the Mag 7 and move away into emerging technology providers, right? Who are the next providers that are going to come in? Mag 7 hit the top already. We're seeing a whole slew of other tech companies come in. All of a sudden, the red tape will be taken away. Doge, will they take away all the red tape? Will that open the door for a lot of companies to be able to get launched and listed and see new tech companies come out from, just so many tech companies that, look, just alone Stripe, to name one, and a whole slew of other tech companies that haven't yet listed. Where are they going to go, and what is that going to have as an impact, and how will they join the Mag 7? Will it be Mag 9? Will it be Mag 12? What will happen, and how will these indexes evolve? So the red tape extracting, what does that mean? Number one, for new tech companies emerging into the market, new startups raising significant funding. And then more importantly, energy sector, right? What is with this energy sector, right? If AI is the driver of growth, productivity grows with AI faster than inflation. So the pace of growth, thanks to AI, will outpace that of inflation. And you can see that at companies like NVIDIA or even across Elon's companies, Twitter. How fast with AI has that allowed them to grow and have more significant productivity per employee than there was before? And given that fact, and given the need, the hunger for energy for these AI data centers, infrastructure, what does that look like? We talked about that a bit on the podcast yesterday, but as that kicks in, what does that mean? And will the red tape be gone for building out power plants? Will the tape be gone for setting up new grid infrastructure? What does that look like? The transmission and distribution of energy to the relevant sources, right? So all of this is going to come about. And obviously, a lot of learnings comes from Bitcoin mining. So that's going to be an interesting element there. And if this can be achieved, US grew about 3% last quarter, right? Let's just say 3%. I mean, it's anywhere between 2.5 and 3.1. Let's say over the course of the year, it's maybe about 2.7, 2.8. So maybe that's $750 billion worth of GDP added on top of the already existing US $30 trillion. And if you see that $30 trillion grow, so here, maybe I'll just share a quick picture again. Keep you guys entertained. And you can see here, bang, right? So ultimately, GDP in the US is $30 trillion. And if that grows, so that's, if it growing it at last year at, let's say, 2.7%, that's going to add about another 750 billion to the US economy, making it nearly a $31 trillion economy. And that's a whole Sweden or a whole Poland that gets added onto the US economy. Just picture that. The US economy as it is today, adding a Sweden economy to the existing infrastructure, right? A whole new Sweden later on without the population of Sweden or Poland, but all of that GDP coming on top. And look at the great companies that come out of Sweden: Klarna, Spotify, Ericsson. I don't know, what are some of the other companies that are coming out of Sweden, but some significant entrepreneurs, builders, and creators over there adding significant value. IKEA, H&M, just thinking about some of the companies from Sweden, that are actually developing significant progress over there. Now, picture Doge having an impact. Picture the element of increased efficiency, increased productivity, new robots coming onto the market, new AI coming onto the market. So the other prediction is 5% growth. So if you have 5% growth, that is a whole India or Turkey added to the economy. Fathom that, right? So India is added if the efficiency can kick in and get it up to 5% growth. You can easily afford 3% inflation with a 5% growth. So that's got to be the lean in strategy that the government is driving. Days of Thunder will execute and get that kick started really quickly. The debt to GDP ratio will change because the growth of GDP will be there. The deficit will drop as it will. So the debt will only grow due to interest payment. But obviously, the deficit does include interest payment, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe we should check that before I say that. But anyway, so those are whole elements that are going to kick in. And that is sort of a prediction that I'm personally making. And you may want to do your own research around that. But I thought that was good. Why? Here you can see last year's inflation rate in 2023. How does that look? 2024, the changes here, 2.8, 3.1. So remember, I talked about this in the past. They forecast, and then have a final number over the course of 3 months as they aggregate production and productivity numbers. So again, still another area of improvement. I wonder whether Truflation might be focused. Anyway, I'll come back to that a bit later. But yeah, so just having a look at that, take a look at that. When the inflation numbers came out, there was another, post out there. Here, somebody dissected it. Jeremy Swartz, check him out. He was cheering inflation, but it's even better than reported. Plugging in more real-time data on shelter, headline inflation improves from 2.9 to 1.8. So remember, headline inflation, or core inflation, as the government calls it, is taking out everything that people spend their money on, right? So you take out all the important elements. But anyway, and so Trevor Scott, thanks for that. What does Truflation miss? And so, we put in there, if you haven't seen it, check out Truflation. We work with Penn State University to put together a new approach in calculating housing inflation. It doesn't matter today because we don't have trillions of mortgages tied to the Truflation inflation rate. Over time, it will change because you want to rely on real-time sources that you can pull from an independent, transparent source of truth. And that is going to come from the Truth Network. But here you can look at how we calculate it, all the amazing visuals that we've put together, etc. So check out the report. You can download it, the full research, click here. But here are just some of the visuals of that that you can see over here. So pioneering, approaching to housing inflation, etc. So this we did back in, what's this, 13th of August, August 13th. So yeah, there you go. Read the full report here so you can check that out. Yeah, so we've been working on that and really driving towards making that a reality. Yeah. One other, the other thing that we think and we're predicting is, the Bitcoin. There's the crypto event taking place. I think there's a bowl, a crypto bowl. There's a Hispanic bowl. There are all these types of bowls taking place before the inauguration, which happens on Sunday. And a part of those bowls, apparently, you've got crypto bowl. And in that crypto bowl, the crypto community was one of the large donators to the campaign, Trump's campaign. And so there are sort of two things that they're really driving towards. One is this accounting practice that means that anybody in the US holding crypto has to report it as a liability. So you can't record it as an asset. You can hold shares, you can hold gold, you can hold currencies. Those are all deemed as assets on your balance sheet. Hereby, with this SAB 121 ruling, they have to hold it as a liability. And so it's a negative asset. So safeguarding liability must record as safeguarding liability in the correspond. So you can't just have it on one side. You need the 100% equivalent on the other side. So both the liability and asset should be measured at the fair value of the custody digital asset. So it's really complicated. And what they're trying to do is take this away. One, what's the benefit of that? All of a sudden, you have a lot more positive assets on the one side, and you can borrow against that and use that as collateral, right? Because you have that. And that's normal practice in the fiat world, in the crypto world. We all experience that and we all work with that. So that's one thing that will likely kick in. What does that mean? Many more institutions are going to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Demand up. Price must go up because of the limited supply. I think that's definitely something that's going to come in. Check out do your own research, make your own bet, but this is a prediction I'm making personally. As a result, a lot of the tech startups and tech companies and tech bros are going to be a part of that and start adding that to their balance sheet. Meta most likely being one of the first ones. Why? Because You've seen a roundabout change by Mark Zuckerberg. What's he done? He's added Dana White to his board, the head of the UFC. And ultimately, he's adding community notes to Meta. He's looking to create significant difference. And one thing we will see again is crypto ads on Facebook, crypto ads on Twitter. All of a sudden, that door will open again. And maybe even Google, right? Those were all possible around the 2017 days. And all of a sudden, they've been banned, made illegal. And all of a sudden, those doors will open up. And I want to pay in crypto for being able to advertise on there. And which crypto assets and cryptocurrencies will they take? And yeah, so that's something to stay tuned and be aware of what's happening. What's a US crypto versus an international crypto? Does it matter where your foundation is or where the management is? All of these things will come up. And how does that then impact, something that was talked about over, here, where Trump talks about the external revenue service, which I thought was a brilliant way. What does that mean? When I am today announcing that I will create the external revenue to collect our tariffs, duties, and all revenue that come from foreign sources. So does that mean when a US entity sells offshore via its offshore entity and repatriate some of that money back to the US, is that deemed an import of money? How does that work? Anyway, so I guess we'll find out, and that will take place, right? So let's see. Again, on January 20th, 2025. So a lot of these things are going to kick off. And right, January 20th, which is Sunday, we have a new president. And what does that mean with a new president coming on? What can we expect to see? And what did the last president achieve, right? So if we did a study, or the team, Ivan did a study and looked at what has inflation been since Biden took charge on January 20th, 2021, nearly 24%, 23.85%. And just take that into contrast, right? There was an 8% inflation for the previous 4 years when Trump was president. So divided by 4 years, let's say it's 2% a year, bang, 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 bang. So maybe that's where the arbitrary 2 came from. This is 24%. So there's no longer divided by 4. What's 24 divided by 4? It's 8. No, not 8. That's 3. That's man. Yeah, it's 6. So not quite, but anyway, you got the message, right? Yeah, it's 6%, right? So you look at that, 6% a year on average. Yeah. Anyway, that's just what we've been going through. So that's a quarter of the shopping cart being empty at the end of each trip to the grocery store 10 times a month. So you can see that. The other thing that they're working on, by the way, is in the crypto community, is to make Bitcoin a currency. So it is like the US dollar. You can trade and purchase using Bitcoin as a currency. So there will be ultimately no tax. There'll be a sales tax, most probably, when you use Bitcoin or something like that, but no tax associated with that. That would be a phenomenal change, amazing change. And again, will further stimulate the demand for Bitcoin and ultimately drive it. I think Kathy Wood says a realistic target is $600,000 a Bitcoin over the next couple of years. I can't remember what the yearing is, but yeah, so 600,000 by the end of 2025. Is that possible? If these all kick in, I would say it's pretty likely, right? So that's a 6x increase from where we are today. I was just on a call this morning with the Solana team, and I think that the ETF for Solana will also be approved. So there's another benchmark that I think will take place. And then we'll see another pop over there as well. So lots of activity, lots of engagement, and lots of change. And in all of this change, through the Efficiency Act and driving more efficiency, we at Truflation have had to drive more efficiency as well. As a lot of you know, we've been building out Truflation. We've been really successful at that. 200,000 monthly active users. We got thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of followers. And ultimately, it has shown that people are really interested in an independent source of truth for government metrics. They don't trust the government numbers anymore and are looking for an independent source of truth. So that's why we've separated and been focused on building out the infrastructure, an independent, decentralized database to be able to maintain and manage all of this data and govern indexes and compute that. We did that around economic data and the inflation index. So what we realized, though, is as we were building Truflation.com and we tried to cram it all under one umbrella, we were confusing our user base, whereby a lot of people were coming to Truflation.com to find out about inflation. I don't want to know about this infrastructure stuff and all this other things that you're working on. And it, on the flip side, people that wanted to build using the truth data weren't interested in the inflation metric. They just wanted Truflation numbers and they wanted the real world asset data that we were aggregating. And so we ultimately had two very different customer bases. We had the financial community and we had the software engineering community. So what did we do? We had to split the two and we created Truth.network. Truth.network is targeted at software engineers that are building applications, either Web 2 apps or blockchain apps, right? So here you can see where we're trying to highlight the user demographics. So Truth.network is actually a source of truth where data comes in, it gets verified, it gets stored, it gets composed into various streams. We have primitive streams and we have composed streams. Those then go into that can be used to calculate indexes and maintain those indexes. Those indexes are translation of methodologies that you can read in white papers or by tools designed by third parties. And so those then get shared and displayed onto various dApps across different blockchains. And you can see the ecosystem that the Truth Network is already working with. Apps, Web 2 app, a simple Web 2 app that you all know and that I constantly talk about is the Truflation app, right? I mean, that's a web app. You can go to the web app and then you can go and see exactly what's over there. So here you go, web app, I'm going to Truflation. It's pulling the data, reading the data, boom, that comes up, powered by the Truth Network. So you can see that here, boom, right? So obviously there. And here you can see what it delivers, right? So things like that. And then you can get all of the data sets here. You got the composition. All of this is computed by the Truth Network and updated daily for Truflation. And so coming back, what does that mean? That means that dApps are working like that. You have other solutions, synthetic assets, overlay network I've talked about. We're working with Jojo Exchange on Base to provide index coins, synthetic assets like Nuon that is using the Truflation feed. We've got Spot that's using the Truflation feed from Ampleforth, as well as Frax with their FPI, where their lending pool or their liquidity pool for the FPI is inflation adjusted. So those are things that we brought. Lending, we got some announcements around lending, but that's coming. Prediction markets, check out index.fun very soon to come live. You know about it if you're listening to the show. I've talked about it in the past. So check that out and let me know what you think there. Yeah, so that's really around Truth Network. Ultimately, users are interacting not with the Truth Network. They're interacting with Truflation.com. They're interacting with Jojo.exchange. They're interacting with Nuon. They're interacting .fi. They're interacting with Index.fun. They're going to be working with other lending protocols that I will mention very soon. And those of you that have been following Truflation will find out. So super undervalued, the Truth token, because ultimately they all need to pay in Truth token for accessing indexes and data sets. And by the way, all the data providers, and you can see the data providers across all of this ecosystem over here. Look at all these data sources. Not all of them, but the people that are aggregating their data and contributing those data sets to the Truth network have staked Truth tokens in order to be able to be a verified supplier of data. So you've got data contributors here that are aggregating it and by the, sort of and contributing to it. We've got companies like Chirp, like Alora, like Levitate Labs in India, Parcel on Solana, Sphinx, LandX. We've got gross, we've got raw, we got, oh man, there's spices. Check out Spice Protocol. They track cinnamon. Did any of you know that cinnamon has multiple different prices? The cinnamon out of Sri Lanka is at a premium to cinnamon from anywhere else in the world. Why? I don't know, but cinnamon, super healthy ingredient, right? Vanilla apparently is another commodity that is super premium and really highly valued. I didn't know that. And anyway, so maybe lots to see from there. But just to highlight to you again, what is the Truth Network? What does it do in simple terms? Basically, that's what the Truth Network provides to you. Data in onto the Truth Network, maintained by 20 different node operators, decentralized database, delivering indexes and data to consumers. These are builders building out, and then users that are accessing the data through the dApps and the apps that are being built around that. So if you want a more sophisticated visual of what actually happens in the Truth Network, come on Tuesday next week, and I'll go into more detail about that. But right now, I've given you the high level, the synopsis and the summary of what the Truth Network is doing, and this is what it looks like. And just to give you more insights, I will be bringing and asking Vadim to come on to the show and share with you more of what's taking place on the Explorer. So the Explorer is already being built. So you will be able to come in and see here what and how the, let me see. So here you can see how the network will work. You will be able to log in, go into the Explorer and see all the traffic, all the data types. So I talked about primitive data feeds. That's a single feed. Composed is where multiple elements come in on its own. So that's just terminology. You'll be able to track that. You can discover new data streams. So you can search food and you get food prices, pet food sales. All of these elements are coming in there. You will then be able to double click on something, let's say the CPI. It's a composed composition. You can see the tags. Very much think of your Etherscan Explorer. This is for a data availability network where you'll be able to see all of these elements and actually be able to double click. You can then search in there for the description. What's the price for it, and then you can just click up here and start building, and it will get access to either a SDK set, right? It can be a Golang SDK, it can be a Python SDK, it can be a JavaScript SDK, whatever type of SDK you need. It can be via an RPC, or it can be available on the specific blockchain, given that depending whichever blockchain we have a partnership with. And again, if you go back to the ecosystem slide, you will see some of the blockchains that we have partnerships with. Truth Network has partnerships with. Who, where, blockchain? Oh, Arbitrum. Oh, Binance, Solana. What? Avalanche, Ethereum, Polygon, Zcash, Injective, XDC. We did a huge announcement like Nibiru, a big hackathon together. And of course, we work extremely closely with Chainlink. So all of the data sets go through Chainlink into their data streams so that any dApp consuming a Chainlink data stream has access to this data. So look at that depth, and we're really excited to be working with the XRP army. This is so undervalued, guys. I don't know why nobody sees it, but once this kicks in and the partnerships that we've got in the pipeline coming out, yeah, we're super excited, and we're just building. And these announcements will be coming. We need third parties to work with to get approval. And I am not just going to announce something without actually having delivered. I'm already talking about too much. I should never be talking about this. And you should just be waiting to see, hear, and learn about what we're doing. So at the moment, I'm telling you what's going on at Truth Network and why you need to pay attention to the Truth Network. So that's sort of really everything that we've been working on. You can see the Explorer, you've got Truth Network, what the focus is of Truth Network, and ultimately some of the capabilities within the Truth Network and why it's so complex to do. All the meanwhile, anytime you want to go to Truflation.com, just check it out, right? You can log out and you can come in, you get a super friendly interface immediately to where you want to go. I come to Truflation for inflation. That's what everybody's been telling us. And now you get it right here, right now. You can see the interactions, you can see other inflation rates, and oops, yeah, here. So look at that. Look at how beautiful this looks like. Super transparent, truthful data for transparent economy, nice website, easy, very quickly. All the other indexes, you can track raw data, SPX, how's that doing? You can compare everything. You need to enter into the app to get access to it. So I'm going to sign in. I can sign in with my Google. Oh, whoa, I don't know why I'm showing you this. This is way too much data. But anyway, now I'm in again, so you can see all the detail. I can now come in. It's loading, again, pulling from TSN, and I can compare inflation in Argentina against the inflation in the US aggregate and US aggregate and Argentina aggregate. So you can compare the two. You can do whatever you want in here, and you can get it through API. So remember, we were talking, what this does is just gets you connected to the Truth Network, and then you can get it from the Truth Network. So it's a bit of a promotional, cross-promotional activity here. Yeah, so that's all that we've been working on and really trying to deliver. And yeah, hopefully that gave you a good insight. We're going to see an amazing 2025. A lot of us have been building and waiting for this year. We're all super excited about this year. 3 is the new 2. 5% GDP growth, which adds a whole India or Turkey to the US economy. And it's going to be days of thunder starting next week, right? We've got the hammer is down, right? I don't know, somebody gave me a hammer here. I don't know if you can see this. The Thor hammer. Thor is the god of thunder. So yeah, we're going to have the days of thunder kick in on Monday or even Sunday, maybe during the inauguration. Who knows? But it's going to be a big change coming, and it's going to be active and lots of flurry, lots of activity, and lots of opportunity for everybody. We're going to see accounting practices change. Number one, in how I record and how the government in the US and maybe around the world, I don't know other countries, but in the US, gold is on the balance sheet of a lot of Federal Reserves across the US. You aggregate that together, it is marked to mark. It is not marked to market. It's marked to 1950s prices market. It's marked. Sorry, what am I talking about? It's marked to 1950s prices. You maybe, I don't know, $50 an ounce. Today it's about $2,700, $3,000 an ounce. So look at that profit. Look at that difference. Where is that extra surplus money going to go? Is it going to go buy back federal money on the market? I don't think so. It's going to be used to issue new money and be able to then buy Bitcoin and have Bitcoin on the reserve. That's the proposal that Senator Loomis put forward, and I think that's going to be widely adopted. So again, lots of opportunity in cryptocurrencies. AI is going to see a huge boom, right? But we need energy. So energy, AI, crypto, those are the things that are really going to help drive the future of the economy. We might need infrastructure too, right? So is the infrastructure robust enough? Transportation infrastructure, energy infrastructure, grid networks, internet infrastructure, all of that needs significant improvement. But maybe Starlink already does a lot of that at a much better favorable cost. So let's see how that has a big impact across everything and the economies. But that's 2025 for you. And ultimately, there's going to be a lot more new money going to be issued. Why? Because people need to fund the development of a lot of these activities. How's that going to be happen? How's that going to be managed? And ultimately, that's going to help drive for that 5% growth and will sustain a 3% inflation rate. On that note, I think next week is a week of the World Economic Forum that actually has sort of disappeared into the from limelight. Nobody cares about that anymore. It's so old people trying to be young and hip and know what's going on, providing no hope. This is the elite that has been trying to dictate a world of scarcity and dominate scarcity and manage distribution of funds based on scarcity, based on their decision on what needs to be done, which has led to economies going down the tube. Look at Germany. It used to be the Wunderkind, right? The wonder child. It was had the Mittelstand was these small, medium businesses that was holding Germany strong and holding it together. They lost their way. Will they ever come back from that? Is it too late? Who knows? But yeah, people have forgotten how to work and what it means to grow productivity since 2000. It's really dropped off the wayside. Maybe even 2008. I think all the money printing just made everybody get too comfortable, and then we are too few resources, right? We don't have energy anymore. And by the way, if Keir Starmer, anyway, I could go on and on. I'm not going to talk anymore. But anyway, that's just all the things that are coming. Where will WEF be in 3 years' time? Will it still be relevant? Will still people be going to Davos, or will it just be a place where, I don't know, you go skiing again and it starts anew, has a fresh opinion, and people go to these different venues? But that's a normal cycle, really. I mean, you just think about it, just everything moves in cycles, and cycles, things evolve. New generation want to create their own new mark. And so will we see that happen? And when will that take place? Hope you enjoyed this bit of a ramble. I'm going to cut it short. I got to go. But thank you all very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the content. We shared a lot. But ultimately, we will be communicating a lot more around Truflation, around indexes, inflation, as well as around the Truth Network and what the Truth Network does. So stay tuned. The Truth token is going to be tied to the Truth Network. You've heard it here. That's what's going to be coming out, and those announcements and those changes are already in the works and already underway and are live today. So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the inauguration or watching the football games or whatever you do on the weekend, or hustling and building and developing behind a computer screen like some of us will be doing. So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend and see you next Tuesday. We will give an announcement for next Tuesday in terms of speaking opportunities and who will be joining the show. I'm not sure if it's going to be Tuesday or Thursday. So let me have a look. Let me confirm, and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.